This was an interesting catch. Certain channel here on YouTube, Truth Seeker 69, caught this image, and actually you can see the video here, from the Ferguson riots where they burned the town to the ground. Watch this here.
Out here, bro, we out here.
Notice anything a little off here? Look at this. These guys are all standing in the same location, okay? All within a few feet of each other. And you can see this guy here clearly is much taller. The top of his head's right here. You got all these guys, they're all about the same height. Every single one of them is about the same height, except for this one guy who's about this tall. I'm thinking, if these guys are like 5'11", this guy's probably about 9 foot. I'm guessing based on how it looks. And this was something that was recorded back in 2014, so it's something that people completely missed. Look how big this guy is. It's pretty shocking, isn't it? Here's a still photo of him.
I just got 2 still shot.
Okay, here we go. And then there's this same lady here. She also was showing a picture of the same location from a different vantage point here. Let me see if I can find it. Right, here we go. So here's the same vantage point. I mean the same location. You can see the same vehicle. This car's actually, I think, slightly back in the video footage. And you can see, and there's actually a pole too. See here, there's a pole right there. Okay, this is how you can tell they're actually close together. You can see here it appears as if they're close together, but you could ask yourself, is this an optical illusion somehow, right? But actually, you see where they're standing. They're standing on the same pavement. And here's the car, and here's the pole. If you go over here, you see the same pole and the same car. So they're all standing in this area on this pavement here. They're not. None of them are standing on the sidewalk. Like you could say to yourself, well, maybe those other guys are standing back here, and then that guy is standing on the sidewalk if his feet were on the sidewalk, but they're not. Okay, even if his feet were up here on the sidewalk, the fact is, he would still not look that much bigger. It'd not even remotely look that much bigger, but the fact is, his feet are not on that sidewalk. You can see, they're not on that sidewalk at all. So, they're all in the same area. They're all within this here. Right in this area. So we know that this guy is far larger than these other guys. Now, I've seen guys that are extremely tall, but not like this. This guy, he's on a whole nother level. We're talking like the tallest guy in the NBA or something, you know what I mean? I mean, not even that, because he looks really thick as well. Because usually the guys that are extremely tall, they're super thin, and this guy is wearing a lot of armor. Look how big this pack is on his leg. I mean, goodness gracious, how much weight is he carrying around? Look at his helmet. It's like 2 or 3 times bigger than these guys. So we're not talking about just some dude that's just really tall. He wouldn't be carrying around this much armor. He just looks proportionally like as if he's just a man that's been enlarged. Not as if someone who just has some sort of weird growth to 9 foot, you know. And we don't even, and that's another thing. I don't think you have anybody in NBA that's even this tall, based on how this guy looks here. So obviously he looks like he could be a super soldier, and actually there's a number of videos like this now This is just one. This was from 2014. We're talking about the Ferguson riots. Maybe this is a way to sort of subconsciously condition people to notice them and not notice them at the same time. That your subconscious mind notices them so that you're not so startled when you do see them in the future. And there are others, of course, that people have found. This is a picture from North Korea. You can see guys are about this tall here. And this guy is the same as with the other guy. It's about 3 foot taller than everyone else. Here he is. Here's the top of his head. It's a really grainy picture because it comes from a very distant camera. But you can see how he sticks out. I mean, his head's way up here. And these guys are way down here. And everybody else is about the same height except for this one guy. And that's from North Korea. Of course, then there's the story of the giant of Kandahar, Afghanistan, which some of our military had infiltrated his cave. It's going to show some footage of that here. Apparently a really big dude, and took out a number of the soldiers before they finally took him down.
You were in Afghanistan in 2002, and you were called into a very remote section of Afghanistan because a patrol had basically gone missing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
There's no
Well,
villages
just
around
nothing.
for miles.
Right.
So it's very remote.
Yeah, very remote. So we flew in. About 4 kilometers. We're hiking to the same area where they were supposed to make one of their checkpoints, one of their rally points. And before we left, there was all kinds of what happened with the ambush, but that was even odd because at the point of the ambush, he was called for maybe close air support, something, okay? There was no calls made, just off the bridge. So we're coming down a mountainside, and it was a nice path, go path. As we bent around this corner, you could see this opening of the cave. There's a cave as we're coming around. And then I see there's a lot of rocks, which is another oddity, and then bone matter. I'm not close enough to identify what kind of bones, but I did see something I knew was a piece of our communications equipment. So instantly we're thinking ambush, maybe animal, it could be anything. And there was enough room in front of this cave, but it had a sheer drop off. But there was enough room that we actually got into a decent dispersal in case of ambush.
You see something coming out of the cave, and it's moving with a speed and agility that catches you off guard.
Everybody. And he comes out. It was a man at least 12 to 15 feet in height. This is a monster. Red beard, then his hair was longish past the shoulder, a scarlet red, and Dan runs at him and starts shooting, which broke all of us into the reality. Because it was so real.
Now your training is kicking in.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Muscle memory, complete muscle memory. While Dan is moving at him, another bro of mine's laying down fire and I start firing. He skewers Dan. He's now got him on this pike. It went through him. He's still got him, and he's coming after more. We all just clicked in. I don't know what it was, but I remember we're all like, shoot him in the face, shoot him in the face. And our weapons components were in force. We had 308s, and we had Barrett 50s. This is sounding longer than it took. We're talking 30 seconds. And he's taking multiple hits and is still moving.
He talked about this giant being 1,100 pounds, anywhere from 10 to 15 feet long, and it was killed. It was apparently shot somewhere in a cave in Afghanistan, but before it was shot, it lunged at several of our troops, our soldiers. It may have even gorged somebody. It was just a bizarre story, and it just sounds like the Nephilim from the Bible, doesn't it?
That's why we're so fascinated by this.
And you have to assume that the giant is not alone, that the giant is not the only being living on this planet. There's got to be a whole school of them somewhere. Maybe he's got a female mate. Maybe he's got children. Who knows? Unfortunate that he had to attack our soldiers rather than be somewhat peaceful. But I guess that comes with the territory.
Dan was dead. Okay. And Wyatt's a good man, probably one of the best men I know, now dead. Before I'd left, they were already starting what they call a 9-line, which is a medevac request. They're sending out a medevac request, then all of a sudden it's not a medevac request. All of a sudden we had a helicopter show up because, like I told you, it was a large precipice and a sheer drop. So the helicopter just came up from the drop. They had dropped netting, which is like cargo netting. It's like squares. We were told we had to bundle him up. And we get another bigger helicopter, but it's almost like a Jolly Green Giant used to look back in the day that could get, through this area. Because the mountains, you gotta remember, Chinooks could only go in certain places because they had enough lift. Mm-hmm. And so we got him on there. The thing was too big. We couldn't move it. It smelled worse than a skunk. A corpse that's been around for a while.
Really foul.
Oh, it was like a combination because of the, how do you put that, the persistence of a skunk smell. But once the helicopter came in, dropped its little hook, and off he goes. The communication was sent out that we had a very large possible human creature.
There you are in the hills of Afghanistan. How many troop members are you with?
We had 6 on my crew. When we say hills of Afghanistan, for us, we did not fly into the wilderness. We actually flew into a base. I guess this thing was transloaded out of the mountains by a CH-47. What I could see that it did have the 6 fingers. I remember taking my foot up and placing it up next to its foot, and it was extremely large. We estimated it at about 12 feet, give or take. What I can tell you is the weight of the thing. Basically, it was approximately 1,500 pounds when it was getting on the aircraft. Now, if you take away the pallet weight and all the rigging that we had to hold this thing down, we figured it was around 1,100 pounds.